All right. Well, thank you for joining. I know some people are on holiday today in the US, so hopefully they'll get this recording and they can see what's going on. Um, for this exercise today, we'll be working with the dishwasher exercise.zip that you all received in your email. Um, what our goal is to take these 50 files. If they're broken, then we want to delete them. We want to throw them in the trash. If they're dirty, we want to change them to clean, and then we want to file them in each of their respective folders based on the first 5 characters of the file name. So what we're uh, going to do is use Power Automate Desktop in order to do that. If you have Power Automate Desktop loaded and you just opened it, you should be at this screen, this home screen. In order to create a new flow, where you probably don't have any flows here if you're just getting started, but if you do, then that's good. If we want to create a new flow, we go up here. You can give it a name. I'm going to call mine 2 because I already have one. Leave this off. This is a beta that's in preview mode and completely changes how this is written. So leave Power FX off. Go ahead and click create. This will take a second to come up. As I'm going through this, if you have any questions, feel free to drop those in the chat and we'll address those as we go. So this is what a flow screen looks like. Very often what I recommend is that your main flow is just an area where you direct it to go to other subflows. So what happens is when you press play, everything in main is what happens. And we will actually build all of our pieces in other flows, in other subflows, so that when we press play, it's running each subflow at a time. So a flow is just an automation in its entirety. Within each automation, everything works off of variables. So it's basically a calculator, right? It doesn't know what you want to do with it. So when you enter something like 3 plus 2 into a calculator, right? 3 in this case would be your variable and 2 would be your action. What is it that you want to do to the variable in order to get a result? So then 5 would be the result, and now 5 can become a variable if you need to use it as a variable. So everything's variables and actions ending up in results. So right now what I want to do is I want to create a new subflow, and we'll call this um, delete broken. So in here, we're going to get we need to get all the files into the system. The system doesn't know anything that we don't tell it. So we need it to be able to identify all of these files in this folder. And after that, we want it to delete all the ones that say broken. So in this case, I need this folder path in order to get the files. So I'm going to copy that while I'm here. You can just click in there and copy the entire path. So get files is a very common action that we use because we want to bring all the files into the system as a list variable. Pasted it twice. So in the folder, we paste our entire folder path. File filter, we just want everything. So we just have a star there, and that's correct. So you can see in here that this is going to pull all the files from that folder, and it's going to save it in a variable called files. So I'm going to save that. And if I just run this right now from here, because again, if I press play, if I press the run button up here, it's going to run main, and main doesn't have anything. But I can right click run from here just to show how this works. So here's my variable. There's a few panes over here, and the one with the X is the variables pane. I can open this up, and right here we can see all of my files that it's pulled. So if I click more on one of these, right, it pulled bool0_01_dirty.csv into this list, and I have a list of all 50 files. Okay, so from the variable files, we can now do something with it. So in this case, we want to delete the files that end in broken. So in that case, if I don't know what action I'm searching for, but I know generally what I want. I know I want to deal with files. So if I just put in file, I can see all the options here, and there's delete file right there. So again, drag and drop or double click it. If I double left click, right, it will appear and the parameters screen will pop up. What files do you want to delete? Okay. So in this case, if I put in files here, it's going to delete every file. And that's not what I want. So now I need to go back and I need to change this variable to say what I want it to say. So really, I just want the broken files. So a star is one or any characters. And in this case, I want to say broken.csv. Right. So now instead of getting all 50 files, I should just get the 5 or so that say broken.csv. And so if I rerun this, now we look at this, there's my 5 files. One important thing to know about list variables is that in Power Automate Desktop, it's called what is a zero-based index. So a zero-based index means that 0 is the first file, 1 is the second file, so on and so forth. I don't think that will come into play here today, but it's just important to know that if you ever need to reference the first file. A lot of times we see people downloading files from the web, and so it's just sitting in their downloads file, and they're like, but I need the latest file. So we tell them to sort it and then pull the first file. In this case, we've received all broken files now to this variable. So now we can use this delete file. And if we just say files, right, it's going to delete every file. So if you're following along, don't run this, but I'm going to go ahead and run this just to show that it's working. So right here, as an example, here's broken right here. So if I run this, same as before, did I do something? 1 second, sorry. I wonder if this has to be refreshed. I just needed to refresh my screen, the Windows screen. So you can see that that's gone now. There's no more broken files in here, right? They're all dirty. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and reset my exercise. Okay. Now my broken file's back. So there's 2 steps to delete the broken files. Okay. The next thing we want to do is rename anything from dirty to clean. So in this case, we're going to need to get all the files. So after we delete all the broken files, every other remaining file in there is going to be dirty. So we're going to go ahead and pull all the files. We're going to rename them to clean, and then we're going to try and move them based on the first 5. So let me go back here. based on the first 5. So we want all the bulls to be put in the bull folder. We want all the forks to be put in the fork folder, so on and so forth. So in order to do that, we're going to go ahead and create another subflow. We're going to say clean dishes. Okay. Same thing. We're going to get files. And so this time when I get, oh, here, I'll do it this way. So you can actually copy these. So I just did Control C on my keyboard. You could also right click copy, and you could right click paste. You should be able to. There we go. And then that way the folder just came over with it. And so instead of broken.csv, I'm just going to do star.csv to pull in all of them. And then we're going to rename those files. So again, if I don't know what action I need, I can just put in file and I can look through all of here. So we have copy, move, delete, rename. So I want to rename, and it says the file to rename. We want to rename all files in this case. And notice that we're overwriting the files variable. So after we delete the broken, when we get the files again and it's all the dirty files, it's going to overwrite that files variable. If I wanted to choose different variables, I could, like files broken, files dirty. I could do that. But in this case, I'm done with the original files variable for the broken files, and I'm just overwriting it. So replace text. Right? You have all these options: add text, remove text, replace text, add date, time, make sequential. So in this case, I want to replace text. I want to replace dirty with clean. There's an option to overwrite or not change it at all. I'll choose overwrite. It's not going to matter in this example. And you can see our new variable is rename files. So again, everything is based off of variables, actions, and results. So my variable is files, which essentially is all my dirty files. My action is to replace the text, dirty to clean, and my result is renamed files. And then I can use rename files in another step if I want. So now if I run this, I'm expecting to get all the files and rename dirty to clean, but they're still in the original processing folder, right? They're still here when I want them to be filed away in the particular folders like bowl and fork. So from there, we want to, now I'm going to start processing these one at a time because there's different subtext, right? In the first 5, I've got fork, knife, spoon, etc. So so these are going to have to be processed one at a time. So I can say for each, right? There's 2 kinds of loops. There's loops and there's for each. If you're going through each item in a list, then you want a for each. If you're just going like through 1 through 12, then I use a loop and I can dictate 1 through 12. So in this case, we're going through the list of files. So the value to iterate, it has to be a list variable. In this case, it's actually renamed files. So let's take that out. So we have renamed files, right? Our result has now become our variable. So our result from step 2, where after we rename the files, has now become our variable for this next step. So for each, we want to, anytime you're dealing with text, right? Again, just trying to search for what could we possibly use. So what we really want is get subtext. You can hover over these and kind of get the gist of what it's supposed to do if you don't know. So retrieves the subtext of a text value specifying the start index and length. So in this case, this is exactly what we want to do. And notice this says for each current item in renamed files. So every time it runs through this loop between the for each and the end, our variable for that one file, the one that we're processing, is current item. You can change that if you wanted to make it smaller or simpler, but in this case, I can type in current item with surrounded by percentage signs. That's how variables are identified, right? Or I can click my variable icon and I can select current item. Okay. And in this case, this one gets a little complicated. So this is an entire file, which is an entire folder name with the file name at the end of it. And that's not really what we want. What we want is just the name. We're getting the first 5 characters from the file name. So if we go to current item and we hit this drop down, then what we see is properties. So a variable dot property is kind of the syntax here, and we can see name right here. And that is just the file name for current item, which is an entire file. So we want start of text and we want 5 characters. Okay. So now this action is part of the loop and we'll get the first 5 characters of each name. Something else I built into this, if you go into here and notice that, let me go here and go back. So we have bowls, we have fork, we have knife, we have plate, but we don't have spoon. So just for the sake of the exercise, I didn't add it in here because I wanted to show this. So you can say, so in this case, we want, if the folder doesn't exist, we want to go ahead and create it. So again, just search for folder and look, there's an if folder exists action. And we can drop that in and you can actually change if folder exists. No, if the folder doesn't exist, okay, then I want it to be created. So what's the folder path that we want to create? Well, it's the original path that we have, which is the dishwasher exercise path. And the subtext, right? The first 5. So we're going to put in our slash to represent a subfolder, and then we're going to add that subtext variable. So if this folder, essentially this subfolder, doesn't exist, then we want to create it. I'm actually going to copy this out so we can reuse it. So create folder. Create new folder into, okay, so in this case, it wants the folder above. So this was the folder above, and we're going to create a new folder into this folder. Okay. So if the folder exists, we're going to create it, and finally we can move the file. So going back to a file search, we can move the file. Outside of the if, right? The if is only for if the folder doesn't exist, create the folder. Every time we want to move the file. What's the file we want to move? Well, that's current item, right? That's the single file that we're currently using. What's my destination folder? So my destination folder is going to be that subtext folder, right? So let me just grab this. It's this subtext folder right here. Okay, do nothing or overwrite. Again, shouldn't matter, but we'll choose overwrite. So we're going to get the folder, or we're going to get the files in the folder. We're going to rename dirty to clean. For each item, we're going to get the first 5 characters. If the folder doesn't exist, then we're going to create the folder, and then we're going to move the file. So just with these 2 commands, or actions, I should call them, with these 2 actions and with these 9 actions, we should delete all broken files, rename dirty to clean, and then go ahead and move them over to the proper subfolder that we want to do. Now, again, I was saying if we press play, everything that happens in main is the only thing that happens. Well, right now, nothing's going to happen because we aren't referencing these other 2. So we're going to reference those other 2. These are called subflows. So we're just going to say run subflow, delete the broken files, and then run subflow, clean dishes. All right, so now when I press play, it's going to run the first one, then it's going to run the second one. So I'm going to take this off the screen and I'm going to press play just so we can watch this happen. So up here, we've got bowl. Down here, we've got fork. There's some other folders, but the idea is we just want to watch this start to populate. So right now I'm just going to click play. And now it's iterating through each file. It's already deleted the broken files and it's just iterating through these files. And we see them disappear on the left. And when we get to forks and bowls, we'll see them appear on the right. And that's really what we wanted to show today. So that was it. Very, very simple drag and drop methodology, fill in the values, everything's variables, actions equals results. And if you want to learn more, feel free to come to the website. We have a YouTube channel. We have, we post every day on LinkedIn. Make sure you're following on LinkedIn. And that's it for today. Thank you.